Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
Then the next thing is regarding the Dataset Workspace. I think yesterday we were discussing how to navigate into the different areas of the Dataset Workspace. Let me see if we have missed anything. Yes, we talk about, for example, a difference between the tables and the datasets. How we can identify between them, we knew that. We discussed on this workspace. When we go to the data catalog task, we will get into the PRISM workspace, which is, as I mentioned you, that PRISM was not in-house developed by Workday. It was acquired by PRISM. Both will have a slightly different terminology in terms of calfield and all, which come to know later on. But it's not bad difference as it should be, but it's understandable. Here we discussed regarding the workspace, regarding the navigation of all. This options over here and then these things. Now let's open this dataset and we will do view. Let me open edit. We also discussed regarding this panel here that what are the details are. Available in this panel, and here we can see if how many fields are there. The maximum sample data, we can see 20,000 rows as a sample row. The data can be more than that, but the sample we can see up to 20k. Here we can see the detailed view of it and in this panel. Now I think we have touch base all the topic and all and the rest, of course, things related to data setting. Table we will cover when we will actually create it. Now understand the dataset field. Types similar to Workday. There are some data types which are field types which are similar, but there is a bit difference into them. Here we can see that total 8 data field types are supported in the Prism. These are the one which are used. Integer will be the 32-bit integer. Range will be from minus this particular range to this range. If my data is between this range, I will be able to, I can use an integer field type in PSM when we ingest the data automatically. The data set or automatically the data set. If you are creating a base data set, it will automatically detect the type of field it is used. But in case, let's say, if it's not able to detect it correctly, I'm still able to change it by a called as manage field stage. Over there, I can change the data type of it, considering that it is a double thing. In case if it's not done by manage field, then there's also a tile field which converts the data type as Let's say I want to convert something, a number numeric field to a string which is a text file. I can change it. The first one is integer. It is nothing but just a range. Then there's a long. Long is very similar to integer, but the range of this is bigger than that. Here you can see. I see. Theoretically, there are chances that you may not achieve the integer's maximum limit, as you might reach in case if you are dealing with the payroll data, where you are doing summation of the payroll data, or let's say you are working with the finance thing. Then you might reach the integers and you might require to work with the long field type. Also, just for the information, when we created a table, we mentioned the field types in advance. That what kind of data is expected in the table, and then we do it. During the development, see that. But in data sets, it will detect automatically. In table, we need to mention that these are the expected field types. Then comes the decimal. As it's mentioned, decimal is a variable length decimal value with total 38 digit before and after the decimal point. Thirty-eight as in total before and after, but maximum limit after the decimal is 18 digit. If we calculate at maximum 38, then it won't go maximum 20 digits. After that, before the decimal. Then there's a boolean. Boolean is a true-false field. It will return the true or false condition. It's not too much. And there's an instance. Instance as in single instance and multi-instance. Then there's a text field. A text field also has a maximum length which can be achieved. Let's say if you are wanting to send the data. In most of the cases, this limit might not reach to its max, because you can see the character limit is too long, but it might hit up when you're dealing with. When we want to send the address of a worker, that address might be very long, or address might still be manageable part. But in some cases where let's say you are dealing with the job request and data, recruitment module and job request and data is there, and the description of the JD, the job description. The job description can be very long. In that case, it might reach in that terms it can reset, but still then self-contain it. And mostly the limit are set in that terms, that it can be contained and transformed. Then there's a date format. Here the date is combined with time of the day, and fraction seconds as based upon 24-hour clock. It won't show AM and PM to me, but rather it will be 24 clock with a time and with a fraction of second. When I load the data, it will show me the time in that. Let's say if I want only the date, I can extract the date out of it because it will be combined. Let's say that it is 23 October, it will show that 23 October 12 am and then sum and sum. Time in seconds and minutes if it has the data. But let's say I want only 23 October. I don't want the time and I don't want the seconds and all. I can extract it via calculated fields. There's a currency field. Currency field are not supported. But currency field are support, but currency translation is not. Here the currency field is supported, but currency translation is not supported. Let's say if I want to. I'm dealing with a global data. My company is a global, my client is a global organization, and I want the conversions of it between the rates, and that thing is currently. That feature is not available. I can only stick with the one currency, that US dollars or euros, or British pound or Australian dollars, whatever the currency I'm dealing with. And it makes sense because most of the time when you, for example, have a job profile that is created for, let's just say Germany is going to be in the euro and everybody in Germany is going to be paid in the euro. Everybody in the US is going to be paid with the US. I don't think that you usually translate that. I don't think there is a need for this. Unless it's for a budgeting for a finance, if for example, company has, I know many. Let's just say it's an international company. They have a place in India, Poland, and China may. But they also want to know how much the USD they are spending. But I guess they can just count it themselves. Or maybe you can have a calculated field for that. And plus you have to know what your currency, how to say that. What I mean, the currency they are changing. Every day there could be a different value. You would have to have a source when you take that value from and then applying it. But anyway, this is not the part of this training. Let's maybe go. No, that's fine. Actually, the approach which you mentioned was absolutely. I was about to explain that part. But it was great that you already tried to think and that area. That how, if we in case there's a limitation from Prism. But let's say if we still want to do it with the global data, how we can do it? We can create a data source which gets updated. That data set gets updated daily with the latest rate currency rates. Let's say 1 euro is equals to, if it converts into INR, it is 90.91 rupees. We can get the latest data every day and then we can apply CalStreet for the conversion. Actually, your logic is completely correct in that case. Thank you. This is in Prism. You need to think in this manner only. That let's say if something is not available, the solution is to create a data set and then join it. There's no limitation, there's no any harm in creating multiple data set. Basically yes, definitely you need to create a data set in a way that it's an optimized way, but if something is not available, you can collect all the things in just the things in Prism and do a transformation to the Prism, because that's the only for reason of Prism that you can transform the data into it. Yes, now I think data set you don't have any doubt. Type of data field type, because it's a self-explanatory only. You must be also means aware of this concept as what's the instance. Can you remind me? I guess I forget instances. When do you use it? Yes, instance is basically a relation between business object of one for one object to another object. One basic example, for instance, is the relationship between worker and dependents. One worker will have multiple dependents. The field of dependent will be a multi-instance field. That one worker has a multi-instance, multi-relationship with the dependents. But a single instance will be that one worker will have only one compensation at a time. That's a single instance, a single relation with it. Is the instance a number? For example, one manager has 40 members. Is it comes in the form of the number or not? Instance is not a number per se, but it's basically an understanding regarding the singularity of the data or plurality of the data. Say singular or plural, makes sense. Now exactly, if a person has one, because of what? A person will have only one primary phone. Number one, primary home address. He won't have multiple home address if in case he has it. But it will have only one primary mailing address. Over that all the communication will happen. These are the single instance. The relation between worker and primary home address will be true. Only one. It will stay one, and let's say a work location. Work location will be always a primary will be a single instance. There might be a case where a person might be traveling for the work, but still he will have one base, headquarters where he will be primarily reporting to. These are the single. Instance by instance are deported. Dependents can benefit plan he has enrolled to. Let's say he has enrolled to. Let's say any critical illness voluntarily. Voluntarily anything happened to him, or let's say I aspects related benefit. All things are multi-instance because one worker will have multiple relationship with the benefit. One worker will have multiple relationship with the dependents. Got. Now we have understand the field types. And now move towards the base data sets. Base data set, when we create, we can create it by the Dataset Workspace. When we go to the workspace over here, let me go to the home. And when I click on this, create, I will get an option to create a base dataset in this 3 line. Again, I have an option to create a base dataset from SFTP, from file, from custom report. These are the 3 options available. Now we will see what are the limitations of this limitations, or all the features of this 3 options. Let's say if I want to create a base data set via file, the maximum file size can be uploaded as maximum 500 MB. In case if I'm exceeding that limit, I can create another base data set by slicing the file into the different file size, and then I can create a derived data set by merging them. Going ahead, then the preferred, it is preferred to zip large file to upload it efficiently. When we upload a large file, when zip it, when we do a zip, it will basically compress that. It compress the file size. Let's say if it's 700 MB or 600 MB, at least it will reduce by 100, 200 MB at an extent. This is an option of compression which is supported by Prism. You can use it. Other zip options are currently not available, but it might be available in future. There is no clarity into it, but currently GZIP is supported, and you can search on Google, and you can, when you save out the file, you can do exzip as, not an issue. And Prism will automatically unzip the file when they upload. It's not that only the zip files are supported. The file formats just we discussed, that CSVixt, all those files are also supported. But in case the data size exceeds than that, then there's an option of zipping the file and compressing the file, and by that be able to achieve it. Generally the CSVs and the TXT already doesn't consume that much. I have seen maximum 200 or 300 MB of data which is very huge, because text format already doesn't contain that much. Occupies that space. It's not a video or anything that. Exactly. Video generally takes 500 MB. But this other text format hardly takes this much, and sometimes the thing is if it's just a few rows of data, it will be in KB. And if it exceeds also, it will go maximum 5, 6, 10, 100 MB. I have seen maximum 200 MB. This is the file. This is limitation for file upload that I upload from the system. But when you go to FTP here, we get more options. Here, each file from the server must be less than n GB compressed, or less than 10 GB if I'm compressed. SFTP is what? SFTP is also a file. It is. It also looks for a file, but main purpose of SFTP is it doesn't get uploaded directly from the system, but rather it will look on a particular address. As we discussed that it is a secure file transfer protocol, it securely looks for a file from a cloud folder and picks up from there. Here it gives us more flexibility regarding the size of the data. The time to transfer the data must be less than 6 hours. Here the time of the transfer is subjective. It depends on its subjective, the tenant. If the tenant is fast or slow and your internet speed is fast or slow, but if it exceeds that 6 hours, then the CFTP connection will get disconnected to the file services. Too large and it was not able to upload the file. This is file entity. Now coming to the custom report. The custom report, the Workday custom report should be an advanced report type. The list of custom report is very long and there are too many custom reports available. But for Prism, only advanced reports are supported. In order to use this any advanced report in Prism, you should first of all you must enable it as a web service. And report must be enabled. Prism Analytics what are those options? It is, let's see here. Let me show a report. This is a report which I have created here. The report type if I see, it's an advanced report. This is an advanced type of report. If I scroll down, all the fields are available, and when I go to advanced tab over here in advanced tab, I can see it is enabled for web service. Yes, when I click on edit, I need to pick market, it will be yes. Then the next option is enable for Prism. I need to enable this thing. If I don't enable this option, this report won't no longer be available for me to create some to be used in future in Prism. Primarily these two options are very necessary for us to use it. Make sense? And apart from it, this is a worksheet option which will enable it later on. But yes, you should keep in mind that if you want to use it, any report into the worksheet, then you need to also enable this. This is not compulsory for Prism. For Prism, enable as a web service this option. And enabled for Prism and for web services. In custom report has a currency field. You must select the currency column option, shared with and shared with or owned, with users for who's performing the import of the report. Currency part I will show you. Let me check. This is yes. This is, I think, older data. I think against. If I am able to edit it, it's available. Here, when you create a report here in Workday, when we want to identify that if any field is of currency or not, the symbol is $. Here the dollar symbol is coming. That means this is a currency field, and when I click on the related action, I will see the related action. And here the field type also is currency. Field type is currency. For such fields, if I want to include the currency field from here in the options tab, I need to select. When I click on this, I will see different options over here, and I need to see valid option. And here I have to select show currency. Code column, I will scroll down and I will click on this. When I do it, I will get and I will run the report. You can see I haven't added any additional column over here. You have an error in 5 hours. So I'm just reading the error. Here actually the report is a temporary report, and it's outdated about 10. But let's see if I'm able to run it. I will create a copy of it and run. Thank you. Here you can see if I show you the report definition again. Report definition is nothing. Report is bifurcated between. Just to give you overview, this is a report output where the report outputs and what report definition means. This is a report definition. Report definition is the configuration regarding what fields are included, what are the sort conditions, what are the footer condition, whom to share with, what are the advanced option, what it should prompt report. Definition consists of the configuration of the report and report output consists the output of that report. If I go to report definition, for the report I ran, you can see there are 13 columns which have configured and ifence. If I scroll down as yes, and when I scroll down here, you can see I have only added total base pay amount and there is no any column, there is no any column after this. There is no field after it, but because I have enabled show currency code column, I will see an additional column with this currency, that is this currency. This is very important for Prism to identify that if you are using this report in Prism, it will bring this column as that the currency won't be listed over year at 215 for $36, but it will be separately that this currency is denoted. It is for us reference, and here if we click on here and the values here, there are multiple currencies. Let me check for euro. Automatically the location country also will change here. United States was for US. When I came for euro, all the European Union company will come, which shares the euro currency: France, Germany, Italy. It has all euro currency over here. That reminds me about the uploads. When I do EID upload in the spreadsheet, usually the Excel file, you have the value and then you have a second column when you have a currency. They don't come together, they're always two separate columns. In one you will be entering the numeric value of that. Let's say pay is there, and for other you might be entering the code of the currency. You will be entering both in the separate column. That, let's say if someone's base page is there, you might be entering 21,000 in one column, and the other column, you might be entering the currency code. Yes, there are always two separate columns. In Prism also. It happens in Prism also, it will show in separate column. But for that, if you are dealing with this currency thing, then you do mention show currency code column, and if you do that here, you will get this column added. Over here, it will be used in future. Then now let's create a base data set now. Always when we create a base data set, in the Prism, there we need to follow certain naming convention which are standard ones. Unless your organization mentions that to use any specific ones. Workday suggests that if you are creating a base dataset, you should prefix it with the name of BDS, base dataset. If you are creating a DDS, that means a derived dataset, it should be prefixed as BDS. And if you are creating a table, it should be prefixed as DBL. It is very easy for someone to identify that whether it's a DDS, PDS or what. And then there's also PDS. PDS is also a derived data set, but it is the derived data set which we publish it. See what is the publish? But you can just have an understanding that we also have PDS, which is a published data set. A published data set is nothing. It's a derived data set only, but we just published successfully, and it's available for the reporting or analytical need. Let's get back to the space dataset. Here currently be able to see on the file and custom report. FTP. Currently in this tenant, this FTP functionality is not available. And we also don't have any cloud folder available from that. We can pull the file. We will see at an extent what are the functionalities available. We will just not pull the file, but we will see. Go to the limit where we see all the configuration. How to configure this FTP? First, I will show with the file, which is a very basic one. When I click from the file, it will ask me to. It will react to the which file to pick. I will pick the worker data. And here you can see it's a txt file, text document 230 byte. And I will click open. In base dataset, you saw that when I click on create base dataset and I select the file format, it shows me that it asks me to choose the data source post. To choose the file first, which will be completely opposite in the table. When we do it, we are into pass. Pass is nothing. It is just to see that. It is just that. How we want to configure this, interpret this particular file. Let me open the raw file as. Here the raw file is in the CSV format, employee d, first name, last name. This, we are using this file. If we go to the tenant, this is the past one. What Workday does is when we ingest any file which is, let's say, in CSV pipe diameter, any other format, it will automatically convert it into a readable format. If we click on this raw data, here it shows that this was the raw data and this is the past data. We haven't done any modification. Workday has automatically translated and bifurcated the data into the columns which was a CSV format. It understood in its way that the first is 111 and after the comma, the state should be a new column. Next column is coming, it has done automatically. In case it has not done it, we still are able to do it from over here. What are the options available over here? We will see. First of all, in this, I will see that. What are the data types available? That phone number is there, what not, and in detail how the data will look. In stage description, I can mention that this is a worker data. Let's say if it is a worker data which gets converted from CSV to tabular format. We can mention the comments on that parts that if you are doing any particular changes, I get mentioned. Let's say if any third person or if any another person is working on this, if they see this state description, they will know if you have done any changes or not. If not, I can mention it. It is not a compulsory field, it's completely optional. Here I can see that row delimiter. Row delimiter means what? I think you froze. I hope it should consider a when it should consider a new line euro. Here, now you're able to see yes, I think it just freeze. For a second, good, let me switch the network. I think it would be I'm glad today now. Comma is what it is, separating the columns. Feel this. Employee ID is separated by comma by first name. It's a filled in. O for a column. But what about yes? In some cases, what happens is the data is in continuous line. Here we have the data. It is breaking. It's a line break. Here the data ends and it's a new line. In some cases, the data it's in continuous line. Continuous flow in single line to avoid. Yes, why they do is because this consumes the space. When the data is very large, they sometimes extract the data in a single line only, but they have some line breaker, a delimiter. What are those options? Comma tab. Let's say here. It can happen that tab is there. Tab is what type delimiter. Let's say this is there. The columns, the fields are being separated by the comma, but when it wants to change to a new line, we can. It can be a tab or it can be a semicolon as here. That's a line breaker. It will pull the data in a new separate row. That is the one. Here these are the options available, comma tab colons, semicolon pipe, then crawler ASCII 29. These are different options which are configured, but most probably the files are in comma and pipe delimited only, and in some cases a semicolon and any new line is the primary one which is used. In case this is not there, then these other options are there. This is in case, let's say, if a Prism is not able to understand this. Ideally, it will understand by default and it will show the data in the correct format only. This is when the row. How it should break the row? What is the row delimiter? The second is fill delimiter. Fill delimiter is when it should change the column. It knew that after 1001, Steve should go into next column and Morgan into next. It has not combined Steve Morgan in one because the comma is in. It is a comma separated. If it still malfunctions, I can mention that my delimiter is not CSV, it's a tab or it's a pipe. Please work accordingly. Please separate the columns accordingly. Then here it says that field names use value from the first row. Here you can see, if I show you the raw data, you can see here that only this data is there. And in paths, when I go here, it has automatically taken employee ID, first name. And let me broaden it up, it has taken employee ID. Why? Because my CSV had a header. If I open it here, you can see header is there. Yes, here. It's an option here, What it means is that use the first row as the field name. My first row was a field name, it has automatically taken that. If I show the difference when I uncheck and check it, it will automatically change it. See, it has included this first row in the data content. But in here also, if I show it to you, here first name, it has taken as a data, but I will mention that no first row is my field name. It will automatically remove it from the data and it will integrate as a field name. These are the escape characters. Let's say, if I want here the more options which are escape character, backslash, trouble, quote. What are the escape characters? Let's say if there's a data, let's say there's a field with the address, let me show here. Let's say here, unknown one is there, but there's a comma, and this Steve, but there's a field type. Field type, let's say 1 and 1. And the unknown comma. First Main Street, comma. It's going to be address. Yes, address First Main Street, XYZ Road. When Workday Prism faces such kind of thing, there are chances that it will break into the different columns. that here, that when it break into different column, 111 comma was there, but in address by default. The comma is there. In that case, I want to include this, all the things into one and not break via this comma. For that, I will use the escape character. Escape character is nothing. Escape character is when it finds this escape character. It will no longer break the column based upon CSV. It will ignore it, correct, correct. If I have such cases, I can mention in this form. Format. Whenever the comma comes between this escape characters, it will automatically ignore the sesv and will contain it into the one column only. It won't spread it across different columns. Got it? Yes, but from it I can also quote the character. Let's say I want to have a double quote. There's any quoting that I want to mention, anything that let's say mail is there and I want to enter it into a double quote. I can mention that, and I can also mention none. That in my data there is no quote character, it will ignore it. That is the thing. And rows to ignore. Let's say if I want to ignore any row, if I know that if I am getting a file and it is having unnecessary data, let's say for me, Steve Morgan, first two rows, first one or two rows is not important. I can mention that ignore first row, and here I can see when I pass it on the next stage, it will ignore that particular row. Here you can see the rows to ignore. The first row got ignored. We are using data in this scenario because yes, when it is used in some cases, what happen is, here is my file. I will explain you in this. Sometimes what happen is here, the source of the file might be there. There might be some technical information, that's epi load, or let's say payforce load 2024 yes 23. This file informations are there. Sometimes it contains the file information. Let's say this information is not relevant for us. You only want the data. We don't. If you don't want to edit it manually, every time we can remove it from here. Let me remove it. That is the one. And trim leading and trailing white spaces character in a text field. Here sometimes what happens is, let's say if I type something, let's say here I'm typing my name as save here, but here that might be that there might be some trailing white space. White space means a space which has no function. Here this is a space. This white space actually counts an issue. It counts as a character and it might create an issue going ahead. If it doesn't serve any purpose, then I can trim the leading and white spaces. Leading are the one which are in the beginnings, and trailing are the one which are in the back of that particular field. But you don't want to use it. If your separator is a white sign, what I mean, if the space would be the separator instead of the comma. Yes, but in some cases what happens is that, let's say my separator is comma. Let me show in this file only. Here you can see there is no space after the comma. But let's say if there is a space, it will account this space. It will account this space in between that. For that I have to remove the white spaces unless it serves any purpose. Ideally, the CSV won't have any spacing between them. But here you can see I have intentionally added one space over here. Let's say if I remove this particular thing, data will be shown some weird way. It will have a space. You can see the spaces. You will be able to see the space over here. But when I remove this option, I'll remove this option. You can say it will come a little bit ahead. It's a very minor thing because only one space is there, but it still accounts to it. And when we do the calculation, it will consider it. For that, this particular option is there. Then there's a field value contains a new line. Let's say if we have a field value that contains a new line, I'll click on this. Here, it will show that particular field has a value which contains a new line, just comma or something, or tab it will pick accordingly. That, let's say a particular column will come then. Post that, it will take a new line, that is the option for it. Once we configure all this option, then we are fine with this. We can give next. When we give next, it will ask for the name of the dataset. We will name as BDS worker data. And the date, today's date is 23. I will mention 23 today's date. You see that when we type this name, a dataset API name is coming. API name is a unique identification of any dataset in Prism, that this API name will be unique for everyone. Also, the dataset name will be also unique, but we can change the name of the dataset once we create it. But once we create a dataset, we can't change the API name. API will remain as it is. You can change it now. Let's say if I don't want to keep this name, I can change it now. But once we create this one, we won't be able to change the API name. Data set name can be changed, both cannot be the duplicate. One means, let's say if I created a with BDS worker data 23, it cannot be similar with another one, but I can change it anyhow. Let's say 23 is matching with someone. It is similar to any data set name. Again, name is 24 as, but this cannot be changed once it is created. Let's say if I'm fine with it, I won't do any changes, and as it is. Then I will go to tags. Tags is, as I mentioned, tags are the data which we are working with. I can mention the tags according to my need. Let's say any tag is not available. I can mention that personal data, personal demographic. I will type. Here I can see that demographic is not there. Then there's no tags of it. I can test demographic. Here it is giving the option to create a tag. I don't need to go back again to create a tag. You just create the tag by writing it. You have to define it first. Exactly because what happens is sometimes between this process, there are chances that you forgot to create a tag. You did all the configuration in the previous stage and again you need to it again, but when avoid to do the redo of the things, you can create it from here. I can create a, once I press it, let me do it again. It has automatically created demographic part. When I click on it, it won't show here now because we already entered it, but it will be visible in the Prism tenant workspace. Demographic we have mentioned. Now the description. Description, this all things are optional. Tag description. Description is what data this particular dataset consists of. In the previous stage, we mentioned in previous step to mention that what that particular stage is doing. We are passing the data and we will mention the logic of the parts, that how we are passing the data. It is a CSV file or not, that someone can understand, but this is an overall understanding of data set, that what this data set will, what this data set will consist. The data we can mention that this consists of basic worker data, and we will give safe. Once we give save, we are into view mode of the base dataset. Here you can see we deferred this that how does the base dataset and dataset looks. Here we can see the information that integration mode is replaced. Replace as in, let's say if I here new file can truncate the data and then I can upload as new file. It will replace the existing file and it will append the data for new one. Source type. Then source type is base dataset upload. It has uploaded. The tag is this one. It is created by Caroline. Here we are using. Then it is Caroline. That's why the Caroline name is coming here. Let me show this. Caroline Allen. That's the name of the user. Makes sense. And that data source of not applied security status. Nothing. Dependency is nothing. And enabled families is not enabled. Here we can see that. Here it is showing that the uniqueness of the data, how much is the repetition of it. Country is repeating 3 times. It is coming as user and be able to see, understand the data on a bigger. If when we see the retail data, the same thing has shown over here. When we go to activities, can you go back to the type of the data set? It says it's a basic data set. It's not advanced one, and we suppose that we should create advanced ones. I didn't got your question. Advanced as in what? Advanced. If you come back to the view data set, it says that the type is a base data set. Wasn't that there something that? Oh yes, this one. Base data set. But shouldn't it be an advanced one or not? Here, then there's nothing, as I had once. It's a base data set, but type is upload. If I go over here, I can click on it when I create. These are the options. For custom report is there. Custom report from the Prism. For Prism custom report, it only considers as advanced report. Only there's no other type. It will not give advanced because there is no any other. Report type which are supported, it will mention that from custom report. If I show her here, that type which are already created. Workday report, not custom report as Workday report. If I open this in a new term in view mode, see here it is coming as base dataset Workday report. Advanced won't come. It will show me only the options from these 3, not more than that. Apart from this, it will show all the details and activities from here. Any confusions over here till now? I think I'm good. I think I was confused at first with that base data set, but that was a Workday report. And we're talking about the advanced only when we talk about the PISM one. Basically the base data set. I will just re-explain it again. Not an issue. Base data set are from how many methods we can do it. We can create base data. For a file, we can do it from custom report. We can do it from CEFPAS. We can use any of this. Option available. It is not compulsory to use all 3 of them together. We can use any of them at a time. It can be either a Workday report. It can be a file. It can be CEFPAS. Currently, we saw how to create a base dataset using a file. Then in the next session, understand how to create a file-based dataset using a custom report. And SFTP, see how the configuration is done. Because as I mentioned that the SFTP thing is we don't have in our, it's not enabled in a tenant. We won't be able to do it, but the configuration, we will see that what we can do. The rest step will be the same. But the configuration, we will see that. What are the configuration available? Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.